ACC basketball has been verbally abused and belittled all season long. But here are the Duke Blue Devils. Is it acceptable for fans of all the other ACC teams to rally behind Duke? Let's bring in the squad.
You're talking ball with the ACC squad, sponsored by Game Time. From Florida State to North Carolina, from Syracuse to Miami, and from NC State to California, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming ACC weekend. Hang on, it could get loud, it could get heated, and it will definitely be fun. Squad up, you're part of the ACC squad.
Welcome, everydayers, and welcome into the ACC squad. Thank you for making us your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is proudly brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. On this episode of the squad, we'll talk about the NCAA, the big bad NCAA, denying what I thought was one of the coolest things that have come out of this football offseason, denying the Syracuse-Colorado request to have joint practices and a joint spring game. But of course, on this one, fellas, it's all about the Duke Blue Devils, who just demolished Alabama and held that vaunted Alabama offense to 65 points in the Elite Eight. They're headed to their 18th Final Four. Who's going to stop them? I'm Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. We got Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels and Locked On College Basketball. Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse. Now, first things first, fellas. It was a tough season for the ACC as a whole, right? It was all about the SEC in basketball. Most of their conference got into the tournament. They still do have two teams left, of course, but only one can advance to the championship game. But, Duke are understandably, the Blue Devils are favored to get the job done, first with Houston and then hopefully in the championship game. And so, Jackson Holzer, I'll let you buy the first round on this, right? Because we're all ACC guys here, although Locked On Duke is not with us today. We're all ACC guys. How much pride as a conference man can I take in what the Blue Devils have done and are continuing to do in this tournament?
Not much. Not much. Because what else did the ACC do? Nothing, right? Carolina. Oh, hey, JJ, how you doing?
Perfect timing.
Compliment the Duke Blue Devils.
Perfect timing.
I want to hear it all. Keep bringing the compliments.
Duke is in its own class. And then you have the rest of the ACC, which either underachieved in the tournament or just flat out stunk during the season. Trying to claim Duke as like some ACC pride thing is like the West Coast Conference claiming like, we're such a great conference because we got Gonzaga, who's making the Final Four every year, even though we only get like two teams or maybe three at most from our conference in the tournament. But hey, Gonzaga's really good. That's what it's like trying to sit here and claim like, the ACC is strong. See, we got Duke. And then what? Carolina, not good at all this year. They lose in the round of 64. Even though they won a tournament game, it wasn't even a quad one game. San Diego State was not even net top 50. Louisville, we all kept saying that they should not have been an 8 seed. They should have been higher. What'd they do? Lay an egg versus Creighton. And Clemson. I mean, come on now. Did not show up for the majority of the game against McNeese State. And we're going to sit here and be like, but we got Duke. I guess we do got Duke, but I'm not going to sit here and take ACC pride in them because they're just they're in a tier of their own.
Well, let me say one thing before I let one of you buy the next round, because it's like, okay, I have been so conditioned my life as a college sports fan, and I've always been an ACC guy or an old school Big East guy. I go back to the old school Big East, but I've had to sit through for, especially the last 20 years, all these dopey SEC fans. Anytime, one of their teams is successful in football or basketball, why are Florida Gator fans chanting SEC, SEC when Alabama wins a national championship? If they can do it, so can I.
Yes.
And what is the criteria for, we can't take credit for them because they're too good? Was NC State not ACC pride last year when they made the Final Four?
We're talking about this year, Kenton. We're not talking about last year.
But I'm asking, where does the ACC pride begin and end? Because to me, you're about to make me lose the clean rating because that's ridiculous. No conference is good top to bottom. The SEC screams that they're a different league. They play a different game than everybody else. outside of Bama, Georgia, and LSU. Who else there has won a national championship in the last 20 years? Florida and Auburn? Okay, cool. So that makes the whole conference good. That means Vanderbilt can cheer for them. That means Tennessee can cheer for them. Tennessee, in terms of basketball, ain't never made a damn Final Four. Congratulations. If you're listening to this show, you got as many Final Four appearances as those clowns in Knoxville. But I'm supposed to sit here and not be happy that a fellow ACC school is good because they're better than all of us. So because they're better, we can't take pride in them. I didn't hear that when Bama was walking through that door dominating everybody. I sure as hell ain't hearing it now that Kirby Smart is dominating everybody. And whatever the next iteration of SEC pride is, I guarantee you we're not going to hear. Well, why is Mississippi State fans excited about them? They're not winning a national championship, but only in the ACC will we have folks on there bald-headed enough to say, "Oh, we can't take pride in that."
How is this not like Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference? Please tell me.
I think that is a great point. Where it's at for totally hear and agree with the Gonzaga West Coast Conference point. Where it's at for me is we are so belittled and reviled and made fun of and little stepbrothered by the SEC and by the Big Ten, that the fact that we continue, despite whatever, to show up in the Elite Eight and Final Four, not just this year, but other years too, and dominate that thing, like that, I feel like we, for the good and the sake of our conference, have to celebrate what Duke is going to do, whether they lose Saturday or whether they win next Monday. We have to be willing to celebrate that. And put forth the ACC as like, okay, fine, but look, we're still out here winning national championships. We're still out here getting half of the Final Four a couple years ago. We're still out here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And just the poetic justice of, look at us, mighty SEC. 14 of our 16 teams are in the NCAA tournament, and we have all these 1 and 2 seeds, and we still can't win the national championship, is gloriously beautiful to me.
It's
and
hilarious,
I say that as a Carolina guy.
It's hilarious, but it just goes back to my point that Duke is just better than everyone else, or at least that's what they have shown so far, and that this is literally like a West Coast Conference team taking pride in Gonzaga. That's all.
Both of you are wrong. Both of you are wrong. Isaac, you're wrong too for agreeing with that West Coast Conference nonsense. When the hell has the West Coast Conference made up 3 of the 8 teams in the Elite Eight, Jackson? When is
I don't know if it's ever happened, but I can assure you that there was only 1 ACC team this year in the round of 32, and that was Duke. That's it. I'm talking about this year and this year only. I'm not going to sit here and claim ACC pride because of Duke.
Okay,
then we're going to continue to get trampled on. That's the thing.
And this is my question. Okay, so for the ACC only, we're the only ones that we're beholden to every single year is a referendum for whether or not we're good. Are you serious right now?
This was the worst ACC year in like 2 decades.
That's fine.
We might get a national championship though.
Because of Duke.
Hello?
Who is part of the ACC?
I want to hear what
JJ. We need to hear from JJ. We got to hear from the actual Duke host.
No, I'm definitely feeling pressure. I am the biggest ACC pride guy that there is. And so I want to carry the flag for the conference. And hopefully Duke is able to make this done. I will say last year, it was very, very painful to see NC State in the Final Four, knowing that they had just beat Duke to get there. But yet at the end of the day, we got to continue the conversation of this is a basketball conference. And here we are on basketball's biggest stage with one of our schools being there. So definitely excited that Duke is back there this weekend. Want to take care of business and bring home another national championship to the ACC. I know it'll be tough though.
Well, this is JJ Jackson's time coming up here, because coming up next on the squad, let's talk about Duke's matchup against Houston. Something's got to give when you got the top offense going up against the top defense. I can't wait to break this matchup down. We got Locked On Canes, Locked On Tar Heels, Locked On Syracuse, Locked On Blue Devils, Locked On Wolfpack represented here. You want to keep it locked. We're only getting started on the squad. How do we have so much energy when we're watching all these college basketball games? 5-hour energy, my friends. Daylight savings snuck up on us again a couple weeks ago. If you've been feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-hour energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late to watch all these awesome games or heading to the final weekend, of course, or you're squeezing in a round of golf at work or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-hour energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Guys, whether I'm at a game or traveling, 5-Hour Energy is easy to grab and it keeps me feeling refreshed. I've been on this peach mango kick lately. It's such a good flavor. I didn't know about peach mango until a few weeks back, and I'm all over it now. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including that delicious peach mango, the wonderful blue raspberry, watermelon, and so much more. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack, and it's delivered right to your door. Or if you need one right now, grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. Stock up and stay energized with 5-Hour Energy. Thank you so much for making this Locked On Squad your first listen and your first watch today. Final Four edition, as we got Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels and Locked On College Basketball, Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse, the man of the hour, JJ Jackson from Locked On Blue Devils, carrying the conference on his back. And we got Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. And man, JJ, I'll let you buy the first round here on your thoughts heading into this Houston matchup where Duke's offense is historically good. Their D has been tremendous. I mean, Exhibit A, that Alabama performance. Houston, statistically, the best defense and also statistically the best three-point shooting team, which I think is a big X factor in this matchup.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, talking offense for the Duke basketball team, that has been incredible to watch throughout the course of the season and certainly has carried over into the NCAA tournament as well. Worth noting with that Duke defense, I'm thrilled that they were able to come back and play as well as they did against Alabama coming off of that game against Arizona. Hard to believe that the 93 points Arizona scored in the Sweet 16 were the most points Duke had given up all year. And yet you're still able to find a way to win that basketball game because Duke scored 100. So knowing that Duke's offense is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with anybody and also aware that their defense can kick it into gear. They did do that against an Alabama team. Now they're going up against a Houston team that, yes, they've got 3 players on the outside who shoot it greater than 40% from 3. But if you bring them in, they're not as effective in those closer range shots. I think Duke's size has been a problem for everyone all season long. And then at the end of the day, we have the best player in the sport. We've got 3 top 10 lottery picks on this basketball team. It's really, really hard to sound or to not like what Duke has going into the Final Four. And all of this confidence inherently makes me all that more nervous that I could be disappointed once this weekend finally comes around. But no, all in all, I am feeling really good about Duke's chances going into a field like this.
Look, and it's crazy because, JJ, you were talking about what Arizona did and then what Duke was able to do, and then holding Alabama to 65, coming off of 113 against BYU, the most threes ever made in an NCAA tournament game, beating a record held by LMU back in 90. I mean, it's ridiculous, JJ. And then not only did you guys limit Alabama's makes from 3, but also their takes from 3. And that was equally as impressive to me because they had taken 51 in that BYU game. I thought Duke's game plan of just getting Alabama off of that 3-point line, and I think they were held to 31 attempts, cutting that down by 20. Alabama's season average is like 29, I think, and so still above their season average, but cutting it down that far when they were going to have to make a bunch to beat the Duke length was really impressive.
I think the biggest problem for Houston in this game is that stylistically they're too much like Duke. They just don't have the horses in the stable to do it. The reason why Alabama was such a bad matchup on paper was because pace and space is their game. How do you get rid of a size advantage? You run the bigs to death, and they couldn't do it. Donno and I talked about it on Locked On ACC multiple times. Duke's path to victory against the majority of the teams left who are go, 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 running gun is saying, you know what? We're going to make you execute in the half court. We're going to make you do it in the half court again and again and again. And when Bama was put in the half court, they couldn't do it. Houston is a very good team in the half court. The problem is they're just not Duke. They're just not Duke. And again, one team has Cooper Flag, one team does not. That's, JJ said it, best player in the game is always going to make the difference. And at the end of the day, I think the worst part for Houston in this one, the part where I really feel like the only way Duke loses this game is if they absolutely wet themselves in this one, is the fact that you cannot single out the best player in the game without leaving open, like JJ mentioned, another guy that's going in the top 10 this year. Oh, yeah, we're going to double and lock down the perimeter. There's a guy named Malawach underneath. He's going to do things to that rim. That's not
been
great.
the biggest X factor, man. And Jackson, I do want to hear from you, but like what Common Malawach has been able to do throughout this tournament run and really the back half of the season, he's getting more comfortable. And also credit to Cooper Flagg and these Duke guards. John Shire's been yelling at them to throw the ball up to the rim. You got someone that's 7'2". It's crazy that's a good idea, guys, to just throw it up and let him go get it. The other freshman, Pat Gamba, 6'10", 6'11", he's been catching lobs as of late. So when Duke drives, there's not much you can do because they're shooting better than 40% on threes. And then there is this 7'2" guy that you could just throw it up to on the inside.
The two-man game with Knipple and Malawach is insane to me. It's so fun to watch. Oh, I love it.
I think Duke can win any style of basketball. And that is the difference between Duke and every other team in this tournament. I know how Houston wants to win this game. They want to make this the most miserable night in the history of basketball for Duke. They want to squeeze them to the point where Duke is just looking up to the heavens like, what do we have to do to score? That's what Houston wants to do. Duke can play any way you want. Fine, Houston, you want to play that game? You want to play defensive, tough style game, rough, physical down low? All right. We're more talented than you, so we're going to beat you it that way. You want to try to run up and down the court? We got Cooper Flagg. We're going to beat you anyway. It does not matter. Oh, Arizona, that's cute. You want to put up 93? You want to actually cut into our defense? That's okay. We'll put up 100. It does not matter what you do against Duke. I picked them going into the tournament, and I still am picking them right now because they can win no matter what style of basketball they play. Don't know if I can say the same about any of the other three teams.
Let me ask this to Isaac, and you all can chime in. I mean, at this point, is there still any concern about the fact that it's worth noting Duke is the youngest of the teams remaining in the Final Four? So it's like, if you're really going to reach for something that might be a negative X factor, is that valid?
There is something to it. The problem is for the other three Final Four teams that while, yes, Cooper Flagg, Common Malawach, Knipple, Gangba, Isaiah Evans, they're all freshmen. But then you got a couple other dudes around them. A guy named Tyrese Proctor, who is a junior at Duke. You've got Sion James, who came over from Tulane. You've got Malik Brown, who has started to work back in a couple minutes, even though he's still banged up. And then you got Mason Gillis, who literally played in the national championship game last year for Purdue. Those guys are going to continue to bring the youngsters along. And when we look back at the three teams that have won the national championship that were freshman-led, each one of those had experienced players surrounding them. Most recently, Duke's own 2015 team that while, yes, you had Justice Winslow and whichever Jones brother it was, Tyus. Yes. And Jahlil Okafor. And you had in the national championship game, a freshman Grayson Allen scoring the second most points for Duke in that game. You also had a senior Quinn Cook. You also had a junior Emil Jefferson. What year was he that?
Yep.
JJ?
Yep,
yeah.
The junior.
You go back to the Kentucky team in 2012. Yes, you had Anthony Davis, but you had a sophomore Doron Lamb. You had a senior somebody that I can't even think of. And that Syracuse team, I know that was pre-one and done, but still, that was Melo. It was Jerry McNamara. You had a junior Hakeem Warwick on that team, Jackson?
No, I believe he was sophomore.
But all the same, it's like these teams that have won, despite being young, yes, have this upperclassmen support to help bring them along. Meanwhile, Auburn's starting lineup averages an older age than the Atlanta Hawks starting lineup. And so it's just a silly comparison, man.
You're already here. Like, I don't want to buy into but they're young and they're freshmen. I don't know. The spooky ghosts, they're already here.
Very true.
They've already played really tough teams. They already played against Arizona. They already played against Alabama. Why all of a sudden?
Already played against Auburn this year.
Yeah. Why all of a sudden is it going to matter now in the Final Four? Are the lights going to be too bright? Like, I refuse to believe if Duke loses, I don't think it's because, well, the lights were too bright for the young guys. They just couldn't handle it. It's because, you know what? Houston, you got good outside shooters, and guess what? They're really good. So they just started making them, and there's nothing you can do sometimes. You throw your arms up in the air and you say, Houston, they made 15 threes. They were 15 of 25 as the team, and that's why we went home. It's not because I just don't believe that it'll be up. The lights were too bright on us. Right. We're freshmen. We can't handle it.
My brother, whatever deity you worship, 15 threes ain't going to be enough. The only way Houston wins this game is if they hit about 20, 25 of them things minimum. And I'm not
it was an example
at all. But no. I agree 1,000%. And another thing that we don't realize, a lot of people aren't really talking about here, those diaper dandies are not just surrounded by experienced players. They're surrounded by other great players. That's the other thing. Normally, when you talk about young guys who are messing it up in the tournament, they're normally the 1A, and then they got another young guy as the 1B, but they're not really true like, oh, they could get to the league and be Batman and Robin. You do have that in Kyle Knipple and Cooper Flack. Those are two guys that if somebody told you Kyle Knipple is the second option on a struggling team that picks him in the top 10 next year, would you be shocked? Would you say second option on the Wizards, Kyle Knipple? No way. What?
He's a baller.
He's a baller. It makes sense. Cooper Flack, same thing. He's going to be somebody's Batman most likely next year. That's just how this thing is going to work out, unless he goes to Charlotte, of course. But you get the point. So with that being said, there is a difference between young guys where you're like, man, these guys are really good. They got like a 15th overall pick. A guy that comes back next year, plays well, he can be top 10. No. You've got legitimate, like, hey, these guys are it. They're the primo. They're, nothing's above them. Even though they're young, you don't have to get Cooper on 30, 20, and 10 to win. You don't need anything near that from Cooper Flack.
I'll just add six players.
Go ahead, JJ. Sorry.
I was just going to add 6 total players for Duke in the latest top 45 big board for the draft. So, I mean, you've got the top 3 and the big ones, but Tyrese Proctor, Sion James, Isaiah Evans are all getting looks at the next level now.
And
pretty good.
It's not just the players that are young. It's John Shire's coaching career, right? This is year 3. And Kelvin Sampson's been, if I remember correctly, he started coaching the year John Shire was born. I think I saw somebody dug up that stat the other day.
4 months old. I saw 4 months old.
4 months old? Okay, there you go. But here's the thing. Hey, JJ, I need your help on this one. You ready? Can you name, there might have been more than one, who was the captain on Duke's 2010 national championship team?
I think he's going to play, or he's going to be at the game in 2025 this year. John Shire.
Oh, yes, that's good. And can you name some of the assistants on the 2015 Duke national championship team?
Yeah, John Shire was one of them.
Oh, interesting. So look, I know his coaching career is very young, but this dude has been at this level, and he's won as a player. He's won as a coach. Maybe not the dude that the buck stops with him yet, but what's to say that he can't go ahead and do it now? There's nothing that, like, let's go to my school. Hubert Davis in his first year at the helm was an Armando Bacot gimpy ankle away from doing it in year 1, and they were not good that year. Why can't Duke do it in year 3 under John Shire?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the other coaches that are in this tournament, Kelvin Sampson, Todd Golden, Bruce Pearl, have they won a national championship?
Nope.
Okay, great. So they all have the same number of national championships. Yeah. They have more experience. Well, not all experience is good experience. Hello? It's not always good. If Duke loses, it's going to be because someone got ridiculously hot from deep. That's it. That's like the only way you're going to be able to beat them. I thought that their only real shot of losing was to Alabama if Alabama had the game where they had in the Sweet 16. That was it. If Houston gets hot, great. But it's not going to be because, they're not experienced enough and the freshmen and the coach. It's not that.
Anybody want to offer their prediction on who, I think we're all picking Duke to beat Houston. Hopefully those are not the famous last words. Who do you think the Blue Devils are going to face in the championship game if they get there?
They're going to face their arch nemesis, that bunch of old guys from Auburn, Alabama. They're going to face those 40-year-olds over there with wives and mortgages and whatnot. Who's this Cooper kid? He was in middle school when I first started my first college.
That's actually the one scenario I'm hoping to avoid, right? I really do not want Duke to play my alma mater in Auburn in the national title game. But I know that, I know that Florida got the better of Auburn at Neville Arena. I wouldn't be that game's so hard to pick for me. Like, I'm glad we're not locked on SEC, right?
We'll let Gordy and the boys handle that
one.
Hey, speaking of the SEC, Donno, can I give us a quick note? I did some hard, deep level research while we've been talking. Last 10 NCAA tournaments, last 10 Final Fours. The SEC has had a team in 5 of those 10, 6 total teams. Let's give it up for the SEC. Really impressive stuff, you guys. In the last 10 Final Fours, our fair conference has had at least one Final Four team in 8 of those 10 Final Fours in a grand total of 10. Wow. That's food for thought.
ACC.
Well,
I want to talk.
I'm just not claiming Duke this year. I'm sorry, guys. I can't
Jackson's
do it.
not gonna
I can't do it. This is like Gonzaga and the WCC. Come on.
Well, all right. Even though he's not playing ball, I will allow Jackson Holzer front and center in the upcoming segment because we got to talk about this NCAA decision. This would have been a really cool thing if they had allowed Syracuse and Colorado to have joint practices and a joint spring game scrimmage, but the NCAA did what they always do, and that's try to ruin everybody's fun. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on the squad. Oh, and my friends, I've been looking at Duke, favored by 4.5 points coming up against Houston. March Madness, guys, it's here, it's been here, and it's not too late to get in at FanDuel because FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, although there will be no Cinderella stories this time around. You can wager on who's cutting down those nets. And even if you procrastinated until the Final Four, it's not too late to get in. The FanDuel app is super easy to use. And when we win, we get paid instantly. No waiting around. Guys, there is always something exciting to bet on. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On ACC squad. So Jackson Holzer with us, host of Locked On Syracuse. I was not surprised whatsoever when the NCAA, they denied that really cool request, like Colorado versus Syracuse, get some joint practices in Boulder, a scrimmage. I thought that would have been a really good thing for college football, certainly a good thing for those teams. So talk about the NCAA's denial, but also I do take a little hope in the idea that it sounded like the NCAA denying it was just a this year thing, and maybe they realize this is something that multiple teams can benefit from in the future.
That is the positive way of looking at it, and ultimately what I think will happen. I do think that by next year, there will be joint spring games. I think Syracuse and Colorado are going to try to do it themselves again as a matchup, and I could see other teams around the country doing it because if one gets approved, then other teams are going to start seeing do this as well. But the NCAA denying it did not surprise me at all. It is the NCAA. They do not like nice things, and something that could benefit the NCAA, teams, give everyone more money, grow the sport, help the fans. Why? It's such a great idea. That means we have to say no to it. That's what it means. If it's a great idea, you say no. Okay? They actually had the stones to say that they care about education. Education. Now, look, I care about education, and the athletes should 100% care about education because 99% of them are not going to the pros. And even if you do make the pros, you're going to be out of the league, chances are, in a couple of years. In which case, you've maybe made a couple $1 million, and that's probably not enough to survive the rest of your life on. I hope you, and you're going to have a bunch of injuries too, so medical bills and all that fun stuff. Yeah, you might want to go focus on your degree, okay? But to sit here and say education, guys. That's one of the reasons why we denied it. In the same year where you expanded the college football playoff, does that help education? Yes or no? Ohio State playing in more games. Notre Dame playing in more games. Yes or no? Did that help their education?
No.
No, it did not, because they had to keep playing games. The NCAA tournament, is that good for any of these student athletes' education? It's awful.
No.
The conference tournaments are terrible for their education. You're asking some teams, NC State last year had to win 5 games in 5 days. How much class did they miss during that run? Probably a lot. They try to sit here and say, it's the education part. Meanwhile, in the plan, they said we're going to have joint sessions of study halls, financial literacy sessions. It's all going to be in there. It's not just a spring game and a couple of practices. It's going to be also life lessons and focusing on education. And the NCAA said, no. I am convinced that if these were 2 other schools, Alabama, LSU, if they wanted to do a spring game, I promise you the NCAA would have said yes. Not only that, they would have paid them to do it too.
Yes.
So spare me, NCAA, for all your list of reasons why you said no to this. It'll happen next year, but stop it.
Well, I would like to echo Coach Fran Brown's sentiments, because he didn't even say Alabama and LSU. He said if it was Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien trying to do this, it would have been successful. And I hate to be the guy that brings that up, but let's be honest. There are certain optical features here that matter a lot, that it should matter, that we should be looking at this and saying, hey, if this is going to be a life lesson thing, if this is going to be even, let's be honest, right? Because as a former Division I athlete, as a guy that graduated from Cass Tech, where we put out Division I guys, a ton of them every single year, one thing that I do know is all of us, regardless of what school we've gone to, some of us are going to the best public university in America in terms of University of Michigan. Some of us are going to smaller schools that, fighting for their accreditation. One thing that all of us have in common, either we ourselves or one of our teammates, we know for a fact, has been specifically instructed, you cannot have that major because you have as few as one class, not classes, it's one class that would interfere with practice. So let's get the education stuff out of here. Let's just be honest about this and say, hey, you didn't want to give teams an advantage when this was a one-off that other teams weren't prepared for. And again, other factors that are at play here. But the reality is, this is going to be one of the more lucrative things to come along for the NCAA in quite some time. This is going to be one of the most lucrative things for all of our conferences. Think about the coverage that happens. The Big 12 network, or not the Big 12 network, but Fox Sports gets their crew out there. ACC network gets their crew out there. And all of a sudden, we've got football in March. All of a sudden, it's not the USFL, but we're watching guys play some ball. Holy hell, everybody's going to be excited about that.
Everyone wins. Everyone wins. The game would have sold out. It would have been amazing. Exactly. And they're like, nah, timing. Give me a break.
And that's what I'm saying. To me, I think it was just that this was a last-minute thing that other teams did not have opportunity to do, which to me, that would have made sense. Saying like, hey, in the sake of fairness, other teams were not prepared to mobilize in this way, which, let's be honest, all of us up here represent schools that all of our schools, if it need be, you could call up somebody. You could call up, hey, let's go on up there. But I get it. Every school don't have our school's budgets. So I understand the premise of, your Central Michigans, your San Jose States, or whoever's might not have the same budget and opportunity to do this. But that, to me, is the only area where the NCAA made sense in this denial. Every single other thing that was cited in their denial, it's foolishness. It's nonsense.
Can we be fair, though, about Western Michigan? Okay. Can we say that? Can we say it? Okay. Nobody cares about Western Michigan. All the schools on here, they could have mobilized. They absolutely could have mobilized.
We love some action.
Miami, if they want to call up UCF, they could do it. Okay?
Sure.
If Duke wants to call up someone, they could do it. If Carolina wants to call up someone, they can do it. If NC State wants to call, every power conference team would have had the ability to call up someone and say, hey, let's figure this out. Let's do it in a couple of weeks. We can figure it out. We can market it. It'll sell out at all these stadiums. I'm not buying the timing. Because I think that if 2 other teams came up with this, You want to say if it was North Carolina and Boston College because of Bill O'Brien and Bill Belichick? Sure. I'll do you one better saying Alabama and LSU. If those guys came up with it, I promise you the NCAA would have said, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Well,
I'm not disagreeing with
how,
you. I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how this plays out next year. Hopefully we have joint spring games across the board. I just want spring games to be saved because teams are canceling. Like, I want more spring games, not less. Huge thank you and shout out to the whole crew, the whole squad for today. Our guy, JJ Jackson from Locked On Blue Devils, Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack, Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse, Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels and Locked On College Basketball. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes, and we'll have a national champion by the next squad. So we'll talk to you then right here on the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
JJ gonna bring out the champagne on us.
Go Duke!